Good morning. Sometimes life has a way of throwing us a curveball, maybe ripping the rug out from under our feet and we sprawl to the ground, lost, confused, dazed, uncertain. Sometimes it's a slow, gradual decline into this space, sometimes it's rapid. The phone call in the middle of the night, the visit to the doctor's surgery, the waking up with a pain, or it could be a relationship issue for ourselves or someone we know that changes things. Called into the boss's office. Economic issues, the bill that we weren't expecting. Things that change our lives and throw us into confusion and chaos, that unsettle us or take us deep down into despair and desolation. Places like we might call the wilderness, the desert, thrusting us into this place that is unusual, unfamiliar, difficult, dangerous, fearful. A place where the normal expectations and processes and powers and controls of life disappear. And we feel helpless, vulnerable before the world and its powers and what's happening. And we don't know what to do. One minute we feel in control and things are going okay, and the next minute everything's up in the air and we feel lost. In this place it's difficult. Our ego takes a crushing blow. We're not as in control as we felt we were or could be or should be. We thought life was okay and going forward. Money, power, whatever was in our control to some extent. We knew what we were doing. We were on the path. We were fulfilling the expectations of others. We were lured into the seductions and temptations of life, of media, of society, and all felt okay for a time. Or did it? Did we feel we were on the treadmill of life, just hanging on, going through the motions every day, getting up, going to work, doing a job that paid the bills but didn't necessarily bring life and hope or joy or meaning? Fulfilling the expectations of other people, just treading the treadmill of life, and it's getting faster and faster, and we're getting tireder and tireder, and life is slipping away. And we find ourselves in the wilderness, the place that's a desert region. Well, we visited various desert regions over the last several years. Broken Hill and White Cliffs and the desert beyond. Uluru and Katajuda and that magnificent beauty around there. Alice Springs and surrounds and everything in between. Rich, raw, rugged beauty. Cliffs and waterholes and rocks and red soil and bushes and shrubs and teeming with life. And yet, desolate and dangerous. If I was lost alone in those places, I'm not sure I'd survive. They're raw and rugged. And whilst there's a beauty there, there's a deep danger. And we don't understand all the wild beasts that are in that wilderness. And the wilderness of our lives, whether it's a physical or an emotional or spiritual or a combination of all of it, there are beasts, things that threaten us, the things of life, of guilt or grief or angst or fear or uncertainty or economic confusion or difficulty or struggle or relationships or death and dying and mortality. Of all the things that are part of our lives that can come unravelled and unstuck very easily. And we don't know what to do. And we feel lost and dry and desperate and desolate in the wilderness, the desert. This week we begin the journey of Lent. Lent, that 6 weeks that leads into Easter. A journey that's often associated with letting go or giving up stuff. But really it's about retreating back into a space where we find space regularly each day or each week to live more simply and to reflect on life and what we're doing and what life is about and who we are. And whether our life is on the track that it needs to be, whether we're caught up in things that are helpful or things that are destroying our spirit, denying us the life. It's a chance to get in touch with the deep yearning of our soul, of our spirit, of our being. That which we often ignore in the fast-paced action of life, as we're responding to the expectations and the pressures and the seductions of life and just going through the motions. Lent is a time when we can stop, take stock, and maybe change. And it's based around a story that happens or is told this time every year in one of its versions. This year, Mark's story of Jesus tells it in his usual efficient, fast-paced, action-packed, quick style. In a few sentences, he describes Jesus' baptism. Jesus is baptized into the Jordan River, as it says. And as he comes out, the Spirit descends into him. And this voice from echoing from the depths of the origins of the heart of all being says, "You are my beloved Son. With you I'm well pleased." The voice of love, affirming love. And through Jesus echoing out into all life and being, that affirming this love at the heart of all things is for us and loves us. And immediately he gets out of the water. He's driven, forced into the wilderness, this desert place, this place of open emptiness. Rugged, raw desert. And it says in the desert there are wild beasts. The wild beasts of life, the temptations and seductions of the world and of life. Drawing him in this direction, that direction, pulling him, but also the wild beasts that threaten him. In the biblical traditions, the beasts are often political powers. The Babylonians, the Persians, the Greeks, the Romans. The powers that had control over their world, that controlled people through violence and oppression and persecution and domination. Powers that controlled people's lives. Powers that had economic strength and control over people. Powers that were violent. Powers that must be obeyed. And these are the beasts in Jesus' life. These are the beasts that threaten him. Political and personal, societal issues and powers and forces. And in that he withstands the temptations. And it says that in his desert, with these wild beasts coming at him, there are angels ministering to him. And in our lives, when we are drawn into the desert, if we look carefully and think back, there are angels. There are the people who walked and journeyed with us, who held our tears and our pain, who didn't say much necessarily, but listened and were there and held us. There are the creatures in our lives, the dogs and pets, whose loyalty and love touches us. The lick of the puppy when we're feeling desperate. Or the burst of life in the garden, its flowers and plants, its aromas, or the bird song or insects. Singing a song of life, filling our life, our subdued life, with colour and beauty. And if we stop enough, if we sit and let go and push the ego away and let it gently sit quietly in the background, we may listen and hear the finest whispers, the gentle, deep voice at the heart of all things, this voice that proclaimed love for Jesus, proclaims a love for us. The Spirit that touches the depth of our soul and spirit, speaking words of love and hope. And if we're willing to let go of the control that we think we have over the life we think we're living, if we're willing to let go of the delusion of control, of power, of wealth, of all that accumulation of assets and stuff might promise, if we're willing to set that aside and not believe that that is our salvation, but trust this inner deep voice, this inner deep yearning of our soul for the one who comes to us, the one who reaches out from beyond time and space in the infinity of mystery and love, reaches out to touch us and hold us and invite us into a new way of being and living. A way that is filled with true life, simple life, a life grounded in love, inclusive, generous love, of justice, of hope, of peace. Inviting us into a community that is inclusive. A community where everyone is welcomed and shares what they have. And that's the vision for the world. We're invited into a different place, a different space, to live differently and to live in a way that brings transformation and hope to our families, our communities, our churches, our organisations and our world. And so we begin the journey of Lent, which leads us over the next 6 weeks into Easter. And I encourage you to take some time to be still, to squash down that ego and its defensiveness, to stop listening to the voices of a society that crowd in on us and seduce and tempt and create expectation, to let go for a time, a season. Maybe it's a space in each week or each day, and listen to the deep yearning of our soul, our spirit, and to the voice of love that comes to us. May God be with you in this journey of Lent.